do we think that manufacturers' representatives have value? And does the model work in this day and age? And so now I'd like to make this, now we've certainly set the table, so let's make it an open discussion.
I think the place where we need to start this conversation is, why does a manufacturer choose to outsource the sales function of their company? And that's the most important conversation to lay a groundwork for everything we do. Primarily because it's the most efficient economic way to take care of customers, is to identify customers, to support customers, and to continue to grow business overall.
If you don't think there's value in the rep, how are you using them as a dealer? And I really like that. It's if us as a manufacturer don't think there's value, how are we using them? What are we measuring them on? And we've actually, with iPro, come up with rep scorecards looking at what traits do good reps have, like we're doing here with dealers. What are some best practices we can pull together? And if we could evaluate and score reps, how would we do it?
The vendor, the manufacturer, has a lot of responsibility in is a rep effective or not? Are they valuable or not? It has to do with training. It has to do with managing them properly. And it also has to do with selection.
There's vendors that I've picked up because of the rep. And there's a lot of good product out there, and I say I could have picked any competing product of Stewart, but because of the rep, I picked up the line. And
I use them for their knowledge, because they're the ones out in the field. They're looking, they go to all the retailers. They have, excuse me, their finger on the pulse of the industry. So as a dealer, I try to pick their brain and get as much information from them as I possibly can. And they're a great tool. I ask them to look at my store. Hey, what do you think about this display? Do you see anything that we can improve upon? So I do use them as a resource.
They don't work in my business on a daily basis, so they don't understand it like I do. So when we, they have relationships oftentimes with dealers that I don't have. And so I do try to use them when I can, but I try to make them utilize me as a necessary part of what they're doing, their relationship with the dealer.
And what number are you in their bag usually?
We're low.
You're low in the bag.
We're low. We're the most profitable and the least utilized.
We have factory direct reps and independent reps. So we went through a process of weeding out the reps that weren't delivering on satisfaction and sales results. And we replaced those with factory direct reps. So I'm not of one mind, because I watch both, and I have both that report into me that I work with every day. I think I have fantastic independent reps, and I have fantastic factory direct reps.
15 years ago, you needed reps to introduce you to product categories, things you didn't know existed. I mean, if you go back to, us old timers, we were doing a lot of black boxes. We were inventing a lot of things. We were having to, make things work because we didn't know that Niles existed, or we didn't know that Sonance hidden wall speakers. But now that all the product categories are mature, I think the reps are important, because now the differences between brands, despite the people that are here, are becoming more and more nuanced. So the difference between buying a Denon receiver and an Integra receiver, on paper with one line, they look identical, but they're not. So the question is how do you find this information out, especially when lines change from year to year? So I think the reps are very important to keep everybody up to date, to understand why you should buy a Stewart screen versus the 5 new screens that have come on the market that all make all these claims.
If you cut out the rep, there's going to be an expense then to bring that in-house. So if I don't have somebody that can connect to you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whether it's rolling out products, speeds and feeds, what's growing, what's exciting, then that's going to be something that would have to be absorbed. So when you talk about cutting it and putting that money back to the dealer, I'd love to put the money back to the dealer, but there still would be an expense to keep up with what is necessary to grow business, but also maintain the business.
That guy's in my office every other week. He is my conduit to Sonance. And that's why I do business with Sonance, is because of that rep.
Do I think the rep model's good? I think it's like our government. In principle, it's good, but it's broken and they need to fix it. And we need to work together on how to fix it. And we set a lot of measurements in place at Salamander where every time I send a commission check to a rep, they have a scorecard. And if they have a failing grade quarter after quarter, guess what? They're not going to be our rep anymore.
40% of my reps do the right thing every day, and I never have to call them. 40% of them, I have to call them once a week to remind them that they need to do this job this way, and 20% of them should be shot. And I would tell you that I believe some manufacturers pay too little. They're getting what they pay for, and they're slowly circling the drain, because a manufacturer has a lot of internal expenses that don't go away. If a manufacturer says, we used to pay you 10%, we're now pay you 7%. Well, if you don't grow the business, then you got to take on another line in order to support that, or you've got to lay someone off.
Everybody here got a line that helped them get started. B&W, Sonance, Macintosh, Velodyne, you name it. Some rep who had a good head on his shoulders or her shoulders recognized potential and planted a seed.
One thing we should insist on is agendas from manufacturers' representatives, because they don't use their time properly, and you don't get the full benefit of line 4, 5, and 6.
And a good rep will come to a house if we're having a problem, sometimes before, during the design phase, or afterwards. If we're having a problem with the product, a good rep will come to the house and help us solve that problem.
I just think as an industry, we're not growing talent like we once did. And so we're not getting people to matriculate over to the rep side from the dealer side that really understand where we're coming from. And most of them have been out of our shoes for so long that they kind of come across as more order takers than trainers and technical people and people that really want to understand how to help us grow our business.
To summarize what everybody has said, I think we can all tell stories about great reps. I think we can all tell stories about terrible reps. The real problem, and this has come up a couple of different times, is there's somewhere between 20 and 40% of our reps that are doing a good job. What that means is there's somewhere between 60 and 80% that are not doing a good job. And is the trend getting better or worse? Because if it stays like it is, the reps are going away. Because the manufacturer, I can't deal with that. Once I build a structure to support that other 80%, even though I got 20% of my reps that are doing a great job, they fall by the wayside, even though I love them to death. And that's an issue. So if, as an organization, if we can switch that and start it moving more towards even 50% of my reps are doing a good job and 50 aren't, we're in a good place. But something around 20, 30% are doing a good job and 70 aren't, I mean, I think as a business person, we'd all say that model's broken.
I believe in the rep model. I think we need to help them. And I think we need to make this a dialogue, that we need to be partners with iPro. And we need to be partners with our manufacturers too. Maybe we can't have that quite triangle. Maybe they can't come to our meetings, but maybe we can help them. Because if we help them, will they help us, and will the business be better, and will we be more profitable? And the answer to that is yes.